Archaeology is meant to help us understand our past, but sometimes it throws up objects that are so unusual, so advanced, or so baffling that we can't be sure what they really are or what they were used for. These historic artifacts continue to baffle us to this day. Roman dodecahedron. Is it a child's toy, a weapon, or just something that looked cool on an ancient Roman bookcase? These small, hollow objects, made of copper alloy with 12 flat, pentagonal faces, have been perplexing archaeologists and historians since the first example was unearthed in England in 1739. Since then, 116 individual dodecahedrons have been found right across the former Roman Empire, from Hungary to Belgium, often alongside hoards of coins. Some observers have theorized that they were fortune-telling devices or knitting spools for making gloves. Nimrud lens. When Austin Henry Layard unearthed an 8th century BC piece of rock crystal at the Assyrian palace of Nimrud in Iraq in 1850, he assumed that it had been used as a magnifying glass or a burning glass that concentrated sunlight to start fires. Others dismissed it as a piece of decorative inlay. Italian scientist Giovanni Pettinato from the University of Rome had another theory, that it was a lens from a telescope instrumental to the Assyrians' deep knowledge of astronomy. It became known as the Nimrud lens, and although other experts say the optical quality of the lens isn't good enough to be of use, the name stuck. Lycurgus cup. At first glance, this 4th century Roman glass cup decorated with scenes of the death of King Lycurgus is pretty typical of its time. But if you light the cup from different angles, something magical happens. It turns red when lit from behind and green when lit from the front. Researchers discovered that the effect was created by suspending gold and silver nanoparticles in glass, a previously unknown process they hope can be used in modern optics, microscopy, and nanotechnology, as well as in the arts. Voynich manuscript. The Voynich manuscript is an illustrated codex, handwritten by an unknown author in an unknown script known as Voyniches. It's been carbon dated to the early 15th century, and its style is reminiscent of the Italian Renaissance. Over the years, many people have tried to read the manuscript and failed, including legendary codebreaker Alan Turing. The latest theory, posited by historian Nicholas Gibbs, is that it's a women's health manual based on the large number of images of women bathing. Fundamentally, the manuscript's meaning is no clearer today than it was when it was rediscovered in 1912. Holy jar. Ever since it was restored from a pile of 123 broken pieces found in a storeroom in the Museum of Ontario Archaeology, the so-called Holy Jar has only grown more mysterious. Its provenance is the first issue. The storeroom contained items bequeathed by Welsh archaeologist William Francis Grimes from an excavation of the Mithraeum, a Roman temple in London dedicated to Mithra, as well as items from archaeologist Leonard Woolley from his excavations in the ancient Mesopotamian city of Ur. More perplexing still is the purpose of its titular holes. The jar is the only known artifact of its kind, and its exact function remains a mystery. Folketon drums. Buried alongside a child in Folketon in East Yorkshire close to 5,000 years ago, these richly decorated chalk drums have baffled historians ever since. They were unearthed in 1889. Some thought they were representations of storage jars. Others thought the geometric patterns hinted at astronomical observation. A recent study by University London and the University of Manchester, however, suggests the drums may have been a Neolithic tape measure, where cord was wrapped around them to get a precise and uniform length, but that doesn't explain why they were buried with the remains of a young child. Saqqara bird. Did the ancient Egyptians know how to fly? A small wooden bird discovered in a tomb in Saqqara raised the prospect that they might have understood the principles of aviation long before they were thought to be first discovered. Made in 200 BC and measuring 5.5 inches, 14 cm, with a wingspan of 7 inches, 18 cm, it certainly looks like a toy glider. However, when glider designer and manufacturer Martin Gregory constructed a replica, it was too unstable to fly. Consensus among experts is that it was a ritual object or toy, or perhaps a weather vane, to be placed on sacred boats to indicate the direction of the wind. Antikythera mechanism. When this astoundingly complex machine was found on an ancient Greek shipwreck off the tiny island of Antikythera in 1900, It looked like an unremarkable lump of green metal. A few months later, it split open to reveal tiny gears, triggering more than a century of speculation. Some claimed it was an astrolabe for tracking the stars, others that it was a navigation device. In 1905, German philologist Albert Rehm proposed that it was an astronomical calculating machine that could predict eclipses decades in advance. Modern research has confirmed one thing for sure: its level of sophistication was quite extraordinary for its time. Headless Egyptian falcons. An ancient shrine discovered in 2019 in Berenike, an old port city on the Red Sea in Egypt, has left archaeologists perplexed. The 1,700-year-old Falcon Shrine features the remains of 15 headless falcons, an iron harpoon, and a stone monument depicting two unknown gods. Burying falcons for religious purposes was not unknown during the period, but they were rarely decapitated. And the pillar found in the room, with a Greek inscription reading, "It is improper to boil a head in here," has really confounded archaeologists. Shroud of Turin. The Shroud of Turin is a burial cloth that bears a faint yellowed image of a naked, crucified man. Some Christians believe it is the burial cloth of Jesus of Nazareth, and make pilgrimages to the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy, where it has lived for more than 4 centuries. The cloth has sparked debate among historians and theologians. Some believe it is real, others that it is a medieval hoax. Modern science has completed hundreds of thousands of hours of intense study and research on the shroud, and doubts over its authenticity remain. Tikastic Kalexlawaka head. What was a terracotta Roman head doing buried in Mexico? That was the question archaeologist Romeo Hayes Christoph asked himself in 1933 when he uncovered this intriguing artifact in a grave in the Toluca Valley, just 43 miles (69 km) from Mexico City. Was it evidence for transatlantic contact between the Romans and Mesoamericans? Was it brought to the continent by Spanish conquistadors? Or was it no more than a hoax? We may never know the truth, but recent tests dated the figurine to sometime between the 9th and 13th centuries AD, rather than the 2nd century AD first put forward by Christoph. Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone. In 1872, workers digging a hole for a fence post near the shoreline of Lake Winnipesaukee in New Hampshire unearthed a mysterious egg-shaped object 6 feet (1.8 m) underground. When they wiped away the mud, they discovered the quartzite egg was covered with carvings, including an ear of corn, mysterious circles, and most bizarrely, a face. 150 years later, we still don't know for sure who made it or why. At the time, the American Naturalist Journal described it as a remarkable Indian relic, suggesting it was made to commemorate a peace treaty between 2 tribes. Others have suggested that it's a birthstone or some kind of ancient tool. The Wedge of Ayud. In 1974, a wedge-shaped object was discovered buried alongside a pair of mastodon bones in Ayud, Romania. The items were found 35 feet 11 underground, and the mystery deepened when it emerged that the wedge was made of aluminium. The presence of the mastodon bones suggested the wedge was around 11,000 years old, but smelting aluminium only started in 1856. A mystery for the ages? Perhaps not. The current thinking is that the wedge is simply a tooth from a modern-day excavator bucket. Piri-Reis map. This 500-year-old geographical map, currently on display in the Topkapi Palace Museum in Istanbul, accurately depicts several places that had not yet been discovered when it was written. Created by Piri-Reis, an Ottoman admiral and cartographer, the map outlines the coasts of Europe, Africa, South America, and the Caribbean. Perhaps based on a lost map by Christopher Columbus, it includes Nova Scotia, the Andes, and a southern landmass once thought to represent Antarctica. No one is quite sure exactly how Piri got hold of his information. Scottish Neolithic stone balls. These elaborately carved stone balls, dating from the later Neolithic period, CP TTOF 2500, have been uncovered all over Scotland since the 19th century, and historians are no closer to figuring out what they are or what they were used for. Some suggest they were used to throw at predators and pests. Others feel that their intricate designs point towards them being household ornaments or perhaps highly individualized yarn holders. More recent studies feel their striking designs indicate a religious purpose. The British Museum Crystal Skull. Long associated with Aztec and Mayan cultures, crystal human skulls, carved from clear or milky white quartz, have long caught people's imaginations. Their smooth, flawless surfaces suggest something almost otherworldly, and New Age figures attributed them all kinds of paranormal abilities. Sadly, nearly all the crystal skulls on display in museums are fakes. The British Museum skull first appeared in Eugene Bobon's Curiosity Shop in Paris in 1881, but was denounced as a fake by a Mexican curator when Bobon tried to sell it in Mexico City in 1885. London Hammer. How could a man-made tool associated with modern times end up encased in rock dating from the Lower Cretaceous period? That's the question that's baffled scientists since the so-called London Hammer was unearthed in London, Texas in 1936. It was discovered by local man Max Hahn, who noticed wood protruding from the rock and cracked it open to expose the hammerhead and ignite a furious debate. If it was truly from the Cretaceous period, then man was still another 100 million years of evolution away from creating such a tool. The hammer is currently displayed in the Creation Evidence Museum of Texas.
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.